I think it's commendable that you had the conviction to voice out what you said and repeat that in a way where it resonated with the management. And later, when it came to pass, they all remembered you. And if, let's say, your center head, the president of the team, has to call you and request you to take care of it, it would have been very clear in a way you had explained what it was, how it will come to pass if things would not get done. And I think if you're not able to handle it still, allowing the time within the no time you have and get it sorted in those 3 months is also, I think, very commendable. You also had the courage or the decision on which you are firm to say, I may not be able to carry it through beyond a certain level, but to that level, I can do it. And getting into that kind of a negotiated agreement within the organization, I think that also takes a lot of will. Sometimes you take up the whole thing and it's like sink or swim. But here you neither sank, ran away, nor you tried to take the whole thing on yourself. But you took it to a level where I think then where the people who could run it could run with it. So I think that is something which is amazing. Not many people can do that.
Yeah, because that you reach a point where you are doubtless, and you don't fear that I was okay to move out also, so there is no fear. So in such a state of mind, I think this will happen.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can you share some of the invariants that you have identified, or how you have identified all these?
Identified what?
Invariants, the invariants of you. Can you share some of the
Yeah.
invariants? Yeah.
Yes. So invariance, some of my core nature. Okay. So one thing is sensitivity. Primarily, I'm extremely a sensitive person, and that is something invariant in me. It doesn't change. So this is something I have tested. I don't know if this is the method, but what I do is I test it. Some of the thoughts that come to my mind or a hypothesis that occur on my mind, I test it and just see if this is in every situation it is working or not.
Right.
If it is working in most situations, and then if I'm able to say uh, go ahead with that conviction, then I conclude that is one of my invariants. Nobody is there to test it. It can only test for itself in due course of time.
Right. Thanks.
Parvathy ji, can you throw a bit of light on that double concept?
Yeah, Ramesh ji, I have only experienced. Now, if somebody asks me to articulate what it is, then I will say, I don't know how I'm doing it, but it will happen. So I've told you multiple experiences, right? Multiple instances where I am not a pro, but it happened. And I don't know the basics of graphology also, but I used to read signatures, so it was double. I don't know how it operates, how it works and all, I don't know. But of course some clue is again on the attention part, because I remember him, Sundarji, also telling the mysterious powers of attention, right? So I think one aspect of double is also that.
I think what may have happened with graphology for you is you became aware of the concept of graphology and the hypothesizing, and then you said you've worked quite hard on linkage analysis.
True.
And then you applied your intentionality to it, and then the connection somehow opened up. That's why you're
Yeah.
able to do it intuitively, but maybe not able to quantify it.
Very true. And I was just imitating, okay? I was just imitating Dharman, I was imitating Sundarji. So it was all, and I didn't have anything to prove, I didn't have anything to lose. I'm not running my life on all this. So there was no fear factor also. No, no. And then I am applying it on my friends and my groups, right? My closed group. So there is no fear. That was again uh, one way it worked.
Parvati, if I can take you on that point.
Mhm.
Dharman is a person I too have met and have been extremely impressed with.
Mhm.
Tell me one thing you learned from him, and how did you use it?
Yeah, I felt he was also applying the concept of linkages also. So I was very convinced this is going to work with linkage analysis itself, right? That was because it was not my discovery again. Sundarji had given me this clue that he must be doing a lot of linkage analysis without actually knowing the concept and all, because he connect things. This much I know. He connect things and then he speaks and. Another, apart from that, I have not, I don't know, I have learned anything from him. I have just observed him, I have seen him, I have experienced him. That's all. And maybe again, something is operating on my mind which I'm not aware of.
Okay.
When can I speak?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you said that I have not learned anything from him in particular or something, and you just observed. So from that, I realized that all your greatest learnings happen even without your own knowing. You
True.
only know, you observe, then you reflect on it, but only later on,
Yeah.
at a very different time,
Yeah.
you realize, oh, this was because of that.
Exactly.
That is something which happens a lot.
Exactly. So you can't pinpoint and tell what did you learn. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, that happens a lot in Swami's training sessions. So I
Exactly.
realized only after 1 week what he told me the 1 week back in the session, which might
Absolutely.
even happen later. And for me, I need more time to reflect on the concepts you said, because you're not talking about a concept you learned in 3 years or even 2 years. You're talking about concepts which you learned over 10 to 20 years. So, just your narration. Sorry, I don't have the camera turned on. Yeah, just your narration mm, felt as if you were narrating a plot to a story, like a plot to the story that is named that can be named Parvathy, and felt really beautiful. And also, I had a different kind of feeling today, because I have been seeing you for the past I don't know for a lot of years, and you have come here, you have stayed here, and I always looked up to you as my elder sister. If you are my elder sister, because I've not been that close to someone else of your age, and you have also that connection hasn't gone. There are other trainees who came here, but I never felt that kind of connection with another person. Truthful to myself, I have to say I have taken a lot of things for granted, and I learned not to take it for granted only after those sessions started. So when you give me a kind of recap for the past 20 years of your learnings with him, it is actually taking me back to then, not when you started, but at least I've heard of all those things over the past 21 years. And all of that was all once more kind of as if I'm installing a program within me. I had a reinstallation of the concepts again. Thank you so much for that. And I want to say a lot more, but yeah, I'll come to it if I have some more points. But then if someone else wants to tell you something, you can carry on.
Hey, Parvathy.
Hi, Nitya.
Hi. It was really wonderful to listen to your journey. One thing that really stuck out was you're a person who really practices when an idea struck you. Because the way you said how you practice imagining yourself as a phone and the linkage analysis or the handwriting analysis, many things that you spoke about. I think one of your invariant is your effort or your willingness to practice the ideas that come, like the significant ideas that Sir has passed on to you. So, very well done. And I'm also learning a lot of things from your presentation because my association with Sir is also very long, since 93. And I remember watching Sir analyzing the signatures of a group of SSLC failed students and giving them feedbacks and attention and you know the totality he gave to them, each of them, it was tremendous. And like you said, you will feel like imitating him just by observing that. And from what I can hear is you practice whatever you learn very well, and that's actually guiding you, which is really truly an inspiration. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, Mantra.
And I think there is one big lesson that is very useful for me from this whole presentation, which is I was talking to Swami yesterday. I asked him a question whether whatever is happening in our unconscious, there are thoughts happening. Would that affect us, or can we become aware of that happening? So this is also reminding me of that, and is also an answer for me, because I was again thinking, even though I'm doing all these exercises through this program, and like Amaya said, we have been listening to Swami's ideas from a young age, but I feel empty, like it's not working, or am I doing something wrong, or what is the use of doing this exercise? I don't see any results. But after you explained a recap of your experiences, um, I understand that in future I might see the results.
You
So
may be already seeing. We will realize only later.
yeah,
Right.
yes, that is a very important thing that I needed to hear today. And And I was thinking about a lot of things during the presentation, but now I'm completely blank. Um, yeah, that's all. It was a beautiful. It was really short, but I felt like it was really deep also. And you're also an inspiration for me because you're very powerful. Though when you talk, you seem like a little like a cat. You look so cute, but you're really fierce. And yeah, yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you, Parvati ji.
Thank you, Mantra.
Hi, Parvati. I just have a feeling like that if I've come out of a movie hall, I've seen a movie or read an autobiography for one and a half hour, how many of sure time we have been in this session. Yeah, it's a beautiful narration, the way you have narrated the flow of events in your life, one after the other, and each and everything you have related uh, to your reflections, to the learnings that you had. So it is not as if you just narrated a story. It is in a very integrated story, is what I would say. There is link to your learnings at every step of your life. So it is very beautiful, and it's very inspirational to know, see the way you have applied your learnings to your life, and as well as the way you have reflected upon your learnings as well. Very beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi Parvathy.
Welcome, Babu.
Yeah, all that you explained are nothing but the tips of the reasonably huge iceberg of your evolution. Most of the thoughts of that iceberg may not be that relevant in a given point of time. It will increasingly become relevant as events and contexts and situations happen in the future. That you also know. One thing you in between said you are not clear about the double. That's the only thing which I want to talk about now. You cannot be that clear. You cannot be clear about the so-called double. But you said something very significant that it depends upon your power of attention. Double is that which will take the linkages, will accept the linkages that you generate, but you are not able to connect. You understood that?
Yes, I got a point. It accepts the linkages.
Yeah. For example, the event you narrated first in the context of double is you were asked to take a session for prospective teachers, and first of all, you took it up. That is where it begins. You take that jump. That jump is the critical variable here, critical variant. The variant is not only things, it can be an idea, a variant can be a mental impression, a variant can be a point of experience, a variant, whatever that you identify, can also be labeled by the word variant. So that first critical variant is your readiness, not a conscious readiness, but freedom to just accept it. Though you, if reflected, would realize that you do not have the background. That perhaps you did not do. That's why you are able to take that critical jump, that variant called jumping into the unknown. Let us say so. That you are projecting a linkage. That means that a bullet is shot out, that bird is released, and then that released bird, something else will have to take care of that released bird. And whatever that takes care of that released bird to reach its destination is the double. See, from childhood times onwards, human beings are increasingly trained to think that you can do things only if you have learned it, if you have practiced it, if you are trained in that. That is applicable for a certain time. After that, the variations in life would take you to many requirements of actions, many requirements of relating with people, many requirements of making critical interfaces or critical dialogues. At that time, most of the people would not try that because they have not learned it. One. Two, or if they are forced, they would try to compress, they would try to package they are available learning into some kind of a response. That's all, which would not work. When both of these are absent, if you take that jump, definitely the double will do the required. This cannot be easily told to someone, and they may not comprehend it. But you could comprehend it, rather you simply accepted it. You said that in the beginning you were just accepting what I said. That was your beauty. And that is why I told you many things. There was no logic, there was no so-called logic or logical educated ego inside you, which asked me, what is that? How is it possible? How can it be, etc. Whatever I told, you would just say yes, or you would just move your head in acceptance. That I also noticed when you were here, one of the times about the research conclusion of Robert W. Weisberg. Those who want to become great will become great. That also when I told you, you just said, yeah, yes. That is the work of the double. That is your double. That says yes to that. This is enough. You don't have to know the double. In fact, if you look at many of the things that you think that you know, actually you do not know, in the sense that only peripheral things are known. For example, if you try to identify how your hand moves when you want it to move, actually you do not know. You just give a moment of intention. There is not even a moment of intent. You just do it, and the hand moves correctly onto the object, picks it up. See? So, nevertheless, that double only is operating all the time. Like when you drive, or like when you write, or like when you talk. But most of the things have been understood or explained or taken as um, clear to the human being, that's all. But actually, it is not clear. How, for example, a body experience is translated into a sentence. I feel this, I feel that. What inside your body, what neuronal configuration in your body, for example, coordinated whatever you did just now for the last 2 hours. You just had an intent and your intentionality, whatever we name by the concept of intentionality, that did the job. You did not particularly focus your attention on what next word I use, what next sentence I must use, etc. Just an intent, or just some clarity about certain ideas, certain mental impressions you have had about whatever you wanted to say. That mental impressions continuously guided you, guided the generation of those words and sentences so clearly that there is also a linkage of the double. And you must see that linkages. That's enough. You see the linkages, but don't try to see the torch. See the lighted things, don't try to look at the torch. So you can be convinced that's a good feeling. And that feeling you have to identify, and that feeling you have to respect and keep it precious. That's all. Then your attention will, if required, it will take care of virtually anything. No doubt about that. And I don't think you have any doubt about any other concepts which you talked. W said, I don't know. You cannot know. What is there to know? What is there to know if you want to know what is love? You say it's a kind of a feeling. What kind of a feeling? It is just there. It just generates a lot of expressions, a lot of responses, a certain pattern of behavior, a certain way of doing things, and a certain way of relating, and certain dimension of language. So everything is actually operated by that double only, in fact. Double meaning, what? The word double meaning, duplicate, a duplicate copy, double bedroom, double bed, you know, double barrel gun. So double is just an alternate agent of you. In fact, that was formed first. Double is in that sense a kind of a mold which is embracing you from behind actually. If you want to know the double, you can know also in an indirect way, for which you have to focus your attention on your backside, Parvathy. Our attention, our orientation to the world, I mean, to the environment is from the front of your body. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That may not be easy to test right now, but even right now, if you really sit there and you see your attention, your orientation is towards the front of your body. I mean, from the front side of the body, not from the back side of your body. Because that has been the experience. Your eyes are in the front. Of course, your ears are on either side, but it is also working more or less laterally. Then your movement is mostly forward. Most of the time, children are not allowed to walk backwards. You move forward. And if you want to see something, you can turn your body. You have to turn your body to that side, that direction. So always things are in your front. Okay, that is for the normal organic survival. But at this level, when we discuss about the double, if you want to get an apparent location of the double, that is actually in the backside of you. Get the point? If you, for example, if you had eyes and other sensations operating from the backside of your body as well, as like it from the front, then you will have a clear 360-degree cognition, perception, experience, sensation of the environment. Now it is not required because you can always turn back. But without turning back, you try to identify what is being sensed by the backside of your body. Feel the cloth on your backside, for example. The cloth hugging on your shoulders, your backside of your abdomen, I mean, that side. So when you lie down, you try to see the world, or try to feel the world from the backside of your body. Then to tell you, just to make a statement to you, that double is holding you like, the claws of a crab, the legs and all those things of a crab, C-R-A-B, crab, all right?
Yes.
That the double is like a crab holding you from behind. Once in a while, when you sit down or when you are alone, and there is nobody around, no other human beings around, focus your attention on the backside. And as you said, you are very comfortable seeing the whole form of you, a forum. That also that can be sensed only like that, not on a single point of the backside. Like you lie down on a kind of a spongy kind of a surface which will register your weight. And if you move out of that space, there will be a hollowness. There will be a dip of your shape in that matter, right?
Yes, sir.
So similarly, that like the backside cover of your mobile phone, that cover is holding on to you at certain points actually. One claw is on top of your head, and the other claw is at the end of the spinal cord, and the other two claws are on the upper portion of your ribs, and then the remaining claw is on just to the center of the vertebral column, the gap between the end of the wrist and the beginning of the sacral bone. These are the energy linkages of that double. And that is just by way of explanation only. But you can once in a while focus your attention also there. Some people have an inherent sensitivity also there. If somebody comes behind you, let us say, without making any noise or any air movement or anything, you will feel somebody is behind you or something is behind you. So those people got automatically triggered little bit with the double, but that does not mean that the double would take care of them. Because you don't need the double, because human beings are all trained to do things which are trainable to them. And most of the human beings do only the regimented routine things. What new things are done by a human being? Most of the people, great majority, get up in the morning and do the morning things, then cook the food, eat the food, then talk normal dialogue, then go to the office, do the regular work, and then have the lunch, then again do the work, and then come back home and listen to music or see some TV or read some books, and then go to sleep. What is the need of double for them? How many girls or boys of your age, 16 or 17, are asked to take a session? That is the wonder and the confidence of your father in you. But I don't think any father would do that. It is unusual about him, of course. So that's also part of the luck you have. But more important, that perhaps some fathers might have told their daughters or sons, but you took it up. That is your duty, that is your destiny, that is your luck. That is the work of your double. So the work of your double actually began at the point when you agreed. That was the original invariant beginning of your doing that session. If that session is taken as a case study for double. And every one of you must try that. I mean, not to try the double, of course, don't test the double, definitely not. Go in your path, accept whatever comes to your path. Don't go in search of testing you. As I told you, your level of preparation will define the path of your existence. So every one of you is likely to come across critical situations. And when called critical situations or unusual situations or non-normal situations, and just enter. If it has come to you, you just enter, that's all. If it is possible. If you do not have any other commitments, you just enter. Then only the double is required. Otherwise, why do you need the double? You know how to cook, then you don't need the double. You know how to read, you know how to write, you know how to talk, you know how to drive, you know how to do most of the things you do. Then what is the need of another agency? When you have nothing to help you, nothing to assist you, nothing, no knowledge, nothing is there around you, then only the double will take care of you. Just like you have been created out of nothingness, the double also operates when you are really in tune with that nothingness of you.
Parvathy ji, so let me just try to put across my understanding. And so, first of all, you joined the session a bit in the middle, and I would want to take the thread what Mantra was been talking about. So when you joined again, I always make my first impression, that first initial moment of experience when I see someone, I form a mental model of the person. So I would purely buy on what Mantra was saying. So the first initial look of it, you're so soft, so subtle, but I could feel that the powerful lady within you and the energy within you was there. But whenever you are speaking, in the comments that you're making, it's so minimal. And I was always so curious whenever you speak that the powerful statements that you make. And today, the complete story you unraveled, and thanks for sharing the experience and few pointers. I'm not an emotional person. But today, in few of the pointers that you speak, I was like, something was inside me. I was able to feel it, something beyond. Like like all of us know that I am not able to still articulate why that connection has happened, but so maybe once when you're talking about your health condition, that is, you are so conscious about your health, and after your pregnancy and so on, that 3 months is when something actually triggered me, and I was so emotional. I'm not able to articulate why it happened, but it happened. I'm actually not an emotional person. During official things, during sessions, personal things, and so on, I'm a bit emotional. But during official or any of these sessions, I used to be really. I used to be like a professional. I used to listen stuff, but today it was a bit emotional. I just want to share that with you. And next is I, the concept of double from the time that you started, it's always been rinking back. And again, Prasadji explained the complete the twin of ourselves, the front and back as a double. And I I actually did not believe that extraordinariness that is there within us. But when some of these that we are able to see through in each of our lives, and which has happened in a few instances in my experiences also. So that strong belief, so is getting more stronger listening to stories like this. That is, you start believing in yourself more stronger. So that is again it reinforced in today's session. And the moment of truth, so, and the theory of mind. So these two concepts, again, some of these, with respect to Prasad ji session, I always I also buy your logic. I don't understand lots of things that Prasad sir says. It takes lots of times for me to reflect, internalize. Then when it is being applied on a context is where I start making that linkages, and it starts to emerge. So that I was able to relate to what you're saying, that moment of truth and theory of mind. So then, yeah, so those are some of the points which I had noted down when you were speaking. But yeah, thanks for the session, Parvathy ji. And thank you, sir, for explaining more about the concept of double. And yeah, that it's getting more confidence. Confidence within self is getting more stronger. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ramesh ji.
Something, okay. Yeah, you wrote be like a cell membrane. Can you say a few words about that?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, cell membrane. No, the property of cell membrane is that it'll allow only those that are suitable and that will be required for this cell. Okay, so ability. So if the cell membrane doesn't filter the right way or correctly, the whole cell will damage. It will collapse. So that membrane is something vital for every cell to survive or complete its whole life cycle. So it is like a gatekeeper.
Mhm.
Only the right and correct things for the cell will be allowed inside.
Okay.
And I told this to Parvati because I know her background, her family, and kind of a village. Kind of a village. Of course, there are no villages in Kerala state, but still. And for the first time, she was going to Bangalore. Uh, she was a very attractive, cute girl. So many considerations were there. And she was very brilliant, and she would easily attract the attention of many others. Bangalore city is a kind of a tricky place. Therefore, I told her. And of course, I
Mhm.
didn't tell any of these things to her then, but as soon as I said this, she got it. And in fact, every one of us should be. We should have the choice what to consider, what is to be reflected upon, what is to be taken for granted, what should not be taken for granted. That kind of a discretion, that kind of a choice, decision, action is very important, which is missing for the, uh, uh, which is increasingly missing for every new generation. They do not know what to do. That's why increasingly people become dull, people suffer from depression, people have illnesses of various kind, all this because of that. So that filtration, that cell membrane, that every model is given in the nature process itself. Like Parvati mentioned, the cell membrane has that inherent entelechy or potentiality in that case, luckily programmed by the double of that cell. So there are so many items inside the cell. When your cell nucleus is there, then there is something which are all named mitochondria, ribosome, lysosome, so many other items are inside a cell. And they only need certain things. And the human body it takes in all kinds of things. And unless the cell membrane has that potentiality, as Parvati mentioned, the cells will be damaged. Similarly, the human cell, the total human entity that you is, there should be definitely a filtration process. And there is a filtration process unknowingly operating in many people. But there is a summary filtration for everything else and acceptance of something else. Like, sorry to say, for the Islam, only Islam is truth. Everything else is absolutely nonsense. Or, or for whatever my political party decides, that's all okay. Everything else is not okay. So it is not a filtration process. They think that it is a filtration. It is not a filtration. I just made some crude examples, which are all very important in today's world. Therefore, I mentioned it. So, in our level, that genius choices here exactly refers to that high level of filtration process. And
Yes.
unless you filter it, you will not be able to identify the piece of gold in that. So, that active filtration process is very essential. When you start filtration, naturally your attention will enter into a different modality. Then real materials will come before you, from out of which you can select jewels of great significance for your existence and for the sustenance of the genius in you.
Yes, sir. Clear, sir. Then, Parvati, you were discussing about helping people in between. Uh, from my understanding, you were saying that without their awareness, you are trying to help them, and you developed a methodology for helping them.
I'm trying to do that. I have not reached there
Can
because
you give some clues?
I have not reached there.
Till
But
I mean,
I will
whatever you
definitely.
had developed till now.
Yeah, so I have one clue. One thing is when you don't have this, when you have the sense of nobodiness, then there is no fear of humiliation. Okay, and practically also, I have met one person who is like that. Um, he will just come forward and tell what is right. Okay, he stands some 30,000 feet above and see the whole situation, and we may be at the ground level struggling to solve, and he will just come and tell, suggest and try to influence you. He will not tell you directly, but he will try to suggest and influence you. And the people on the ground, and he is a person with like no ego. He doesn't feel anything, and people on the ground literally humiliates him, give back to him, shout at him. I have seen all of this. Nothing matters to him. He will just go on doing what is right. So I have seen that also. And uh, with this nobodiness, you will not have a sense of humiliation anyways. So that is one clue, but I have not developed a full method yet.
Okay, thank you. Uh, Thank you for
That's
sharing.
also an indication of the double only power. You don't need to develop a full method or anything. You already mentioned that when you were talking about this, you already mentioned that you just listen to that person, you have all your attention, and when you say something, it impresses people. That's all. So these are all again the third orbit, fourth orbit explanations of what we do or what we end up doing. At the second or first orbit, the core invariant of all this thing is uh, uh, your clarity, your so-called tuning with the original invariant of you. You're tuning with the catness of you. Then everything will happen. Everything will work out. All the so-called methods. Let us go back to the history of the world. All this countless number of subject matters, philosophies, methodologies, items of performance, performance arts, musical instruments, tools, systems, processes, procedures. Who created all of them? That invariant double in some people. They somehow got into contact with that. They somehow landed up in situations where they were inspired to give some responses or some activities, which later developed into some more conscious attempts to develop more responses, more ideas, more perceptions, more experiences, conceptualized into something. That's the beginning of all philosophies. You look into the history of all sciences and technologies, they all began with the philosophies. That is why the highest university degree is always called the Doctor of Philosophy. Whether it is mathematics or physics or chemistry or engineering, the topmost subject is called PhD, Doctor of Philosophy. Because all subjects began philosophy. What is philosophy? Love for knowledge. What is love for knowledge? That love for searching the unknown. This, that is unknown till this point. And then jump into that search. Then everything will originate in you. So just I told a single dialogue, and somehow because of the innocence or the clarity or the purity of the mindset of that little girl, Parvathy, she just accepted it, and she went and wrote the examination or whatever. And everywhere she tried, she was always successful. Whenever she tried something, she was always successful. So this is the way you have to also begin interacting with people. If possible, if you get a girl like or a boy like Parvathy, just don't leave that person. Because the finest time to begin training is around 13, 14, 15, 16. Before that, it won't work much because higher order training needs language. A little baby, a 3-year-old child, you can train him to be on the, what you call, on the piano or keyboard or some instruments or like I did. I just purchased what you call skates, roller skates, and just kept it in the room. And I would say Mandra and Amaya must be geniuses on skates, not on the racetrack. They just move around inside the house, between the tables and chairs, into the kitchen and all that on skates only.
Mm.
So that kind of a training, physical training can be given till the age of about 12, 13, 14. You need a higher order language to talk about the invisible, intangible, genius or creative or higher order, so-called higher order orbits of human possibilities. So in ideal age, luckily I got Parvathy around the age of 14 or so, and she was very sensitive, and she had that basic obedience. That's also very important. She was a very obedient girl, very well-behaving, I want to say, a very innocent kind of a girl. That's what I liked in her most. So that's all properties she got by birth or by training or by various coincidences. Unless that innocence, that openness, innocence allows that openness. That's all. So if you come across somebody like that and you do that, then you will have the greatest contribution. But that does not mean that you cannot understand all these things at this age also, okay? Here your will is there, you have to apply your will. You have to really do it. You have to consciously apply this. Sometimes back I mentioned that do not sit there like an audience, M.Tech, B.Tech, MBA, manager, this, that, and then listen to my orchestra. Be there like Parvathy said, just a nobody, and just take the next step vis-a-vis the new insights and the new learnings which you feel comfortable to begin with. Begin with one or two. Do not try to begin with all. Like first be on the pedal of the bicycle. Then gradually skipping on the bicycle just through the other leg put on the other side. Then on the seat. Then take the cycle into a little bit of outer streets. Then you go to the next orbit of taking the cycle into the market road. So a great lot of concepts and perspectives are already given to you because this is in the format of a program. As I told you, whatever I have gathered over 30, 40 years of reflective tuning with the nature process, the significant points of that, I am just like that giving it to you. So you cannot try all of them together. I doubt whether Mandra and Amaya are a little bit worried because they want to begin all of them at a single shot. They have to progress. They are progressing in one or more, one step at a time. So Parvathy had that humbleness to try like that also.
Yes.
Try one, establish one, and feel the beauty of it. Then try the next. And after you finish, after you manage to get a feel of mastery or 3 or 4, then you will get 5 of them together. And even after that, you may get 15 of them together. That's kind of a geometrical progression. You know, like you are on the pedal of the cycle, then on the seat of the cycle, then in the practicing ground, then on the neighboring streets, then few times in the market, then you freak out. You don't have to learn how to go in a particular street, then again practice in another street. It is not required. Similarly, you practice on one thing, like that was again the advantage for Parvathy, because I would meet her maybe once in a while. So once I meet her, then I just talk about some linkage aspect, not all that thing, and she will reflect on that. That would be ideal. So you just focus on linkages as of now. Of course, no, because you are a little more mature and more experienced people. You practice first referent reality perception.
Yes. Yeah.
like the things of the words. Referent reality, even now, we are not really comfortable. We have come only up to some sample identification of the possible nature of the referent of single concepts. There are huge concepts of a single word. What about a single sentence? Which you tried a little bit with the Samasya. You tried a little bit with the referent perception and of some parts of the parable. So you have to have a firm, clear, complete grasp of what is referent and what is referent reality. In order to do that, you should be in a way competent to just to keep all your language on one side and just to start looking at the things, I mean the variance, and see the variations of things. And the referent is the totality. For example, let us say a tree. Totality is called a tree. So when you really see the tree, you see the totality of the tree. And you can also choose to look at every leaf, every branch, every major branch, the trunk, the soil, and all those things. They're all part of the referent of a tree. None of this is a part of the word tree. Understand that? So you have to practice that referent reality perception. And that tree is in the center of multiple orbits of linkages. And just to train your sensitivity system, like Parvathy, sensitivity. Try that sensitivity to embrace the totality of the referent and, if possible, the referent reality. And practice it for some time, as I told you. Like you practice in the cycle for some time. And when you get reasonable confidence on that practice on the cycle in your courtyard, then you just take it out. And then after some time, you do not do anything. You cannot do anything particularly. You can only take the cycle again and again. The job will be done by the double. In the so-called instances of practicing or learning, what do you do? For example, take the bicycle, of course, a physical skill. You're on the pedal and, keeping the hands on the handle. You're just pushing the cycle, little bit on the pedal. Again, the balance is gone or the speed is reduced. Again, you push the cycle with the other leg and you go like that. That's all you do. But next day when you try, you see that you have got something more. That something more is not at all a consequence of your doing anything. I mean, that's something. Rather than that happening of the balance on the bicycle is an act of your double. You just behaved with the bicycle, that's all. So you just behave with these concepts. At this higher orbits of existential possibility, we can only talk about it. So without language, that cannot be done. So therefore, the important requirement of referent reality perception. Normal languages, normal conversations are about the ordinary things and events and episodes and materials and phenomena in the political, economic, social, familial, environmental world that you are all familiar with. So even little bit unfamiliar thing can be conveyed by the words. But this genius choice level of orbits, there are of course in the unfamiliar world. So there only your referent reality projection will help you. That means projecting a possible, probable nature of the referent. Like what is the genius? The word genius is familiar. Okay, there is a conceptual sense, a so-called attendant spirit. What is attendant spirit? Okay, kind of an energy field. What is an energy field? Okay, it's the word energy field. But what is required is your attention. That is the only one support for your will or that I in you. Focus your attention on that which is there, like a sensing everything, that so-called energy field. What is that energy field? You are not familiar. How do you feel the energy field? You have no experience. Is it like electrical power? Is it like a pain in the abdomen? How can your attention sense or touch that so-called energy field, which is all the time operating inside you? Because of that perpetual presence of energy field inside your body, that's why you are able to sense the environmental totality. Anatomically, it is nothing but the distribution, the distributed electrical current generated by the cells and continuously connected to and fro to the central nervous system. That is the so-called energy field inside you. Of course, the modern technology, you can take a photograph of that energy field. But how your attention will touch that energy field? Because you cannot touch it, you cannot hear it, you cannot smell it, you cannot see it. So, see, hear, touch, smell, taste. None of this will work with that energy field. But your attention can just go there and wait, like the eagle scanning always in the sky. Eagle is always rounding in the sky, much above, 4,000, 5,000 feet above. And once in a while, eagle spots a snake 3,000 feet down in the field. Suddenly it makes a leap and catches that snake and flies out. Similarly, your attention should be just like that, flying around inside your body without any anticipation. I would say that innocent scanning. Karmanya vadhigaraste ma phaleshu kadachana scanning. Scanning you can do. That means you can hold on to the handle of attention and put one leg on the pedal of your attention and try to get on it, and you can pedal that bicycle of attention through the entire terrain of your body. But whether it will hit that field, the way you think about hitting something, it will not happen. Because all your thinking of sensing something is conditioned, dog conditioned by seeing it, smelling it, hearing it, touching it, or tasting it. And all your knowing is driven by that compulsion to name it. Naming. That is the tragedy of neurosis injected into human mind. Everything is named. I always had a debate with Mandra. I come after traveling someplace and I come and I talk about somebody without naming that person. Then Mandra will ask, what is the name? What is his name? I tell him, if I tell you the name, what advantage? But it is advantageous. If you introspect yourself, you also still have that tendency because everything is named. For example, if you listen to a newspaper report, some people, let us say, some murder happened, an important VIP has been arrested, but the name is not given. You feel uncomfortable. Some name is given and you do not know that VIP at all. But when that name is there, you feel very happy. You know, that is because of the training. Because that's what the entire communication in the environment also. Emperor Asoka, If it is name was anything else, what does it matter? Why, in which it this matter? Nothing.
Sir,
So Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, all these people are named. Like every entity is named, and human being, you never use your name to call you. It's only a name, only a word given for other people to talk about you. By succumbing to that name, you get what you call so narrowed down. So let that name be there, but just do not belong to that name. And it is possible. When you call me sir or Prasad or Sundarji or whatever, I hear it as, I don't hear it actually. Some name you are calling. I'm just talking about me. So you must also have, only should have a gateless gate relationship with your name.
Right.
Sir, now when we are talking about the name, so on one side we are talking about the name is just a label, but on the
Yes, of
other side,
course.
the name has got influence. So because in terms of in terms of a name has got attachment. So you also advise that Meenakshi ji, her name has got an attachment, her
Yeah.
previous name to the new name. So how is these two related, sir?
Okay. Yeah, that's a very logical question. That is just another orbit only, Ramesh. This is the fundamental orbit, okay? Fundamental orbit is that you are beyond the names. You are a nameless being. Somebody told you it is your name, Ramesh.
Yes.
It could have been Vinay, it could have been, oh my God, millions of names. Okay? So someone said this is your name. All right. Now, first point, at the first orbit, I said you should not belong to that name. At the second orbit, anyway, you need a name for them. So long as you are a member of a relationship network, you need a name. For that, you can have a name. All right. At the third level, you can have a name of your choice in order to symbolically represent, like your signature, the, the totality of the entity of you, especially your so-called mind, intellect, and intelligence. I mean the social role possession self, so-called social self, which we cannot, for more or less, we just cannot avoid so long as we are here. If you are living in a cave, even when food we cannot cook, and if someone comes to give us food, that person has to tell about it to other people, or that person has to address you something. So therefore, some sound structure is required. So that person may call you Swami or God or Deva, may whatever it is. So at that level, when you can choose a name, then there's a slight advantage, there's a slight control over your total mindset. That's all, Ramesh.
Okay, sir. Yeah. So that at that orbit,
So when
when you are
Meenakshi's name has it has for Meenakshi, she has surround logic. Yesterday, I don't know whether you were here there. Yesterday or sorry, what was last time? We had a significant part of the variant invariant orbit linkage intentionality network we have discussed. I have put it, uploaded it into the YouTube. That is, that are three more concepts within the framework of violin. Nitya was there, right? Yeah. Number one is logic.
Yes, sir.
Number two, time. And number
Yes.
three, the total design setting process. Number one, logic, we discussed a lot. When we talk about everything in this world is a variant, everything in this internal world a variant. Point number two, when every variant is linkaged with another variant or another minimum three variants, if not more, these linkages are not just like that happening. There is a logic for these linkages. That was discussed in detail in the previous session. like engage with me like that, for example, let us say so. Because Parvati has seen, in her case, what I noticed in her is something very unique. Because Parvati's father is a wonderful, fantastic person in the sense that he is one of the unique most persons I have ever seen. He knows such a lot of people, maybe 3,000 to 5,000. Okay? And he had an uncanny ability to keep in contact with them. And most good majority of these people were all from the so-called rich and affluent classes of society. And she has seen mostly those kind of people. Relatively rich people coming in cars or coming in good dress, blah, 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 blah. And perhaps I was the only one who was sort of a poor guy. Let us say, no, not much good dress or nothing, money, no money. And she knew most of my background. I had no money at all at that time, let me say. And she had a particular affinity towards me, which I noticed. So that is where I trusted her. In fact, I have traveled, though I never had money, with some little bit of money, I would fill petrol and I would drive about 40, 45 kilometers only to see her. Which I have never done. I don't have done that for anybody else. So I'm talking about the logic of linkage. My logic of linkaging with her that deep was a kind of, let us use the word, an absolutely uncorrupt innocence in her. So I'm talking about the logic. Similarly, Meenakshi has a logic to linkage with the. I went to this far, Ramesh, to talk about the logic of linkaging with the name. Meenakshi, it is not one fine day thing. She has some kind of a unique logic for choosing that name. It is not that just like that she adopted a name. No.
Master, would you want
Then that will have then it will have its own magic also, Ramesh. Because our purpose is a little bit self-centered. That means I want every one of you to be really noticed by the people. Anyway, we are in this drama. In that I am against Zen Masters. I belong to that. I don't belong anybody, but I appreciate Zen Masters the most. They just do not believe in public attention, public acceptance, public recognition at all. Zero. But I want anyway every one of you to be, I would say, world famous if possible. Not consciously, but that is your potential. That level of height, I'm sure every one of you can hold. But whether you will become world famous or locally famous or many people will benefit out of you, that's a matter of their destiny. That I would say than your destiny. So, in that sense, you can have a name. That's all. That is the work of name, Ramesh. That's all. Other than that, nothing. Meenakshi will be this, I would say, perhaps even without changing her name. I don't know whether she would agree with this, but in general. But that will help you because that is an advantage for you, Ramesh. Because like Mandra mentioned, there is a whole lot of non-conscious material from, according to depth psychology, a lot of non-conscious material which will start building up in a child by the age of 6 to 9 months. Every moment of your experience, every moment of your cognition, perception, sensation, they are all stored very faithfully in the central nervous system. It is unbelievable. These are all not known to the public. That's why I always say psychology should have been a compulsory subject in the schools. You can, with the modern electronic equipments, you can prove with an electrode, you stimulate certain part of your cerebral cortex, you will exactly relive what happened at 5:30 p.m. 2007 Wednesday evening. High fidelity. So By this, what I'm saying is, so much of unconscious parts of personal history is there, which all of them have been given to you by other people. And these other people always addressed you by calling you that name. So, like in computers, which are actually modeled after human intelligence, they are all tagged under that library label of your name. Ramesh, get the point. So when you alter that name, all that linkages get affected. Like you pull out a tree, then the roots have become slightly shaken. That's all. You cannot completely root that tree out. That's also possible, but that's not relevant here. So that primary hardness, rigidity of the linkages of your personal history with that name will be definitely gone. That's the advantage. That's all, uh, Ramesh.
Yeah, yeah. That's where the concept of you're talking about the name being with the person, the signature being with the person, the change. It brings in a certain amount of synergy. So when that synergy happens, your abilities actually is 1 plus 1 is not equal to 2. 1 plus 1 becomes multiples of those. So it becomes like 10, 20. So that synergy is where the match between your name and your inner self. So
That is no, Ramesh. What you're talking is so different. Then again, another orbit of thing. You're talking about the sound pattern of your name, the
sound pattern.
That is when you're choosing a new name, because what is a name? If it is a referent, if it is a variant, that variant consists of logically arranged sounds. If it is uttered, if it is written, logically sequenced letter R-A-M-E-S-H, or if it is pronounced Ramesh, Ramesh. Okay, these two, especially you're most of the time called. Okay, and different people are sounding your name. And most people may not be sounding the sounds ra, me, sh in proper energy, because every sound is generated by corresponding energy sources in the body. Ideally meaning the real design setting process logic of the human entity. Of course, human entities are nowhere near identifying that. In other words, if cats were calling your name, all the cats would have called in identical sounding. Okay. So, if it is a properly structured sequence of sounds, then it is all the more better, Ramesh. That's all. This we discussed the other day. Your name should have a ideally, a name should have a sound, because is the sound of the universe. All mantra sounds, all core mantrams have in that. Oh, this is also true. So these three primary linkages will help you in the naming. That's all, Ramesh. At the zero orbit level, you don't belong to any name. You are just an invariant. That's all.
Got it, sir.
When it comes in the variant, you have to be given a name: cup, saucer, glass, mobile, pen, pencil, etc. So at the invariant level, you are absolutely nameless.
Parvathy, can I ask one more question?
Nitya.
You mentioned about art of appreciation and not being self-centered. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So, art of appreciation and not actually flattering somebody, but understanding the giving full focus and attention to what somebody has done or what somebody has said to you, and then what is appreciable about it, you will pick it and give feedback on that. Vis-a-vis flattery, where you are not aware what this person is saying, it's very superficial, but you want to please this person, and then you're just telling. But appreciation will strike the right chords with that person whom you are talking to. So if I tell something about say feedback, uh, for example, in our sessions, mantra usually picks something which is very unique, which many of us don't notice. So I have noticed that many times. So she picked something which nobody has picked, and that is when we will say, oh yes, we did not realize. So that is her power of attention, and only that extreme power of attention can get the right give the right will be able to help you to give the right feedback. And Sundarji, if you listen to his feedback, if you have gotten feedback from him, uh, negative or positive, it will actually resonate with you, and the person getting that feedback will not have anything to refute. It is correct. It has and self-centered, being self-centered was one of the he has not been very pointed, and he has not been very harsh with me anytime, but that was one time he was very upset and he said, don't do this. So it hit me, and I didn't want to be that anymore. So but at the same time, if my mother or my for example my mother, whom I also take for granted many a times, she'll give feedback, but it will not have an effect, immediate effect, or a profound effect as Sundarji would say. So it is because even the minutest things are being considered when giving a feedback.
That's very important point which Nitya asked back to Parvathy. Because in your future, as I envisage, one of your roles as mystic leaders or mentors or guides or trainers or whatever, to whom people will approach for an asylum, for some kind of a rescue, you need that capability. This I used to call the name creative feedback. I don't know whether I told like this to Parvathy. So a feedback that will create a new perception, a new perspective, a new sensibility in the person who has been given the feedback. It should create something new. Otherwise, you have done a good song and somebody says it was good singing. Yeah. You just got, yes, it was, thank you. That does not create anything new in that person. But when you say that particular Sangati which you took, that portion was extraordinary, which the other person did not notice actually, like Parvathy mentioned. So try for that kind of a feedback. And that's why I did not say this openly. That's why I was every time monitoring the way every one of you has been giving reviews at the end of the presentation of everybody else. So try to identify the points which all of you are doing, and you are increasingly becoming more and more competent and more precise and detailed in your giving feedback. That's very important. Try to develop it. For
And
which
also
complete
you mentioned,
attention is, like Parvathy mentioned, it is complete. Complete attention meaning it is not a tense attention. Most powerful attention is very free attention. For example, you hear a story, you don't have any tension, and you can, in fact, retell the entire story. You see a film, you can retell the entire story because you're free. But you read a document, when you read a document, especially schooled people, there is an extra tension in the body which can be measured by modern electrical equipments. You have to be really free with whatever document that comes before you, even if it is by the president of the world or the president of your company. And you should have the similar freedom to interact with anybody. That is one of the unusual advantages of Parvathy. She is so cool to confront anybody in the world. That you should also develop. She uses the word fearless or anything. That is her way of translation. But whatever it is, she is cool. That cool attention to what somebody is talking. then you will register the points of feedback. And one, two, then you will notice the real sangadis, like the raga variations in a song. You will see, you will sense the subtle variations talked, presented as well as the subtle linkages inside the talking. As much as possible from next time onwards, you try to talk about the linkages of whatever the presenter presented you, and there will be a lot of opportunity for that in the next series of presentations because it will be on mental trance.
But one more thing, Parvathy. You mentioned about the subtle arrogance just before your health got deteriorated. How did you engage with that?
Uh, I linkaged during my reflections only because after my I had 6 9 months of maternity break, so it was like a lot of time. And with the new baby, I was away from all the electronic gadgets, so it was only me and my reflections with no and the baby around. That's all. So it was a unique time setting, and my health was really bad. That is when as in one of our sessions, Sundarji mentioned, body is one thing. It is like a gateless gate, the control of our body. We are in control, but not in control. So that it was. I didn't reach to this point specifically, but I was also feeling it that even though I was very sure and I did everything under my control to do things correct, nothing went well. So it was a realization for me, and my thought process at that point in time was, if you do everything firm, correct, complete, because I had this ready-made tip, no, firm, correct, complete, uh, things will go well. I don't have to worry, I don't have to think. And I know the secret sauce of life, so I can just move on coolly. So all these were my arrogance, but it was crossed very badly, and big realization happened. So that is again one thing, you should actually do your research and understand things. Not all the ready-made stuffs will always be working 100% for you, though it still works. But unless I know the core of it, and if I just blindly start using, somewhere I will have to fall down.
It's like a testing.
Yeah.
Parvathy, I have a question. Um, on one of your slides, when you were representing your learnings in a graphical representation, there were so many lines on the top of it. 4 or
Yeah,
5
those are
lines.
my orbits.
Okay. Can I see it once again?
And you had the background of the butterfly coming out of the
Yes.
cocoon.
Yeah, that was actually my state, when these when all these happened, this was happening. So it got lucky again, and then got an admission to GCF.
Right. Well, all I can say about today's presentation is that to me it has gone like a session under a new mentor. And coincidentally, Sir was totally silent during your presentation.
Yeah, sometimes I was feeling if I am talking on mute. I double checked sometimes.
So that way you are an evidence of a mentor mentored by Sir under this program. And finally, it was nice to go through all the pages of your autobiography, side by side, some experiences with the Sundar Sir, as you are privileged to have such a long association with him. and certainly all your your experiences and your mentoring style, I think it is a good confidence booster for me also, and hopefully I would be able to see in future myself up to that position. Thank you a lot.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
sir. Yeah.
The, finally, the centermost, the core ingredient of Parvathy is that nobodiness. So, how always constantly try to grasp the nature of nobodiness. It is certainly at a gateless distance because you are so concretely aware of your somebodiness, your social role position, your employment role position, your familial role position, and the years of experience of living in this varied role positions as a little person, an adolescent, as an adult, and all that. So you may feel doubtful about the concept of nothingness or nobodiness. Uh, like you may think your logic of engaging with the nobodiness would be affected by you're trying to know nobodiness. Nobodiness is nobodiness is nobodiness. You cannot know it. Because when you know it, it becomes somebodiness. So, at a certain point of time, when you understand that existential clarity of the you, that you are nothing but one of the creatures in this planet Earth, one of the flesh, blood, born structures in this planet Earth. You are just like that one of the cats in this planet Earth. How will you see another cat? So the same way you have to see the you. Then
Right, sir.
that nothing, then that nobodiness will gradually occur to you. You will be clear, but you may not be able to talk about it. But you will feel that at various points of interface with other people, you will be able to sense that nobodiness. It will have a color of so-called innocence of a little baby. Let us say so. That's why almost all creativity researchers, all of them will also say that originality is like the state of mind of a child. Okay. Child, we all look down because it cannot, because we think that it is immature, it does not know many of the things, of course. But its engines are very pure. It does not have a language to talk back. It does not have the physical maturity to do things adults doing. That is all. But as an entity, like even many traditions, child is the father of man, something like that. Child is an ultimate example of the wonder of the human entity. That innocence is already there even now within you. That is unaffected. On top of that, several orbits of personal logic of linkages with other things are just like the initial example of Meenakshi, that onion. So many onion leaves are covered, that's all. Let that covers be there, no doubt. An appeal of your knowledge, appeal of your general sensitivity to environment, appeal of your social position, appeal of your work experience, appeal of whatever. Let it all be there. Like a spider network. Let the entire network of your orbits of knowing or doing or experiences of being be there. And the daytime when you are in the office, be in one of the peripheries of your network. But at the same time, your internal identity, your inner identity will be already always centered on the center point of the network, like the origin point of the graph. That's it. And that is possible. No doubt about that. And because that is the ultimate. You have to experience that nobodiness. Because that is the preparation for the final chapter of your existence. All that peels of layers of onion, they are all essential to engage with the social identity of you. at a later point of time, when the body becomes old, when the so-called old age and beyond that, then your experience in tuning with the center point will make you immensely, what you call, sweet to yourself. And you will be able to simply dance towards her disappearance from this world. You will not have a shock of the layers being peeled off by somebody. You will not have a shock of your peel being, what you call, tampered by somebody. Because by the time you will feel that the peels were actually not existing. And that the ultimate of genius is fellow program. That means every one of you should dance and sing towards your last point of disappearance. Because at that point of time, that will be the only one singular, what you call, infinitely critical thing, which is a preparation, which is a point I am telling you in advance. It is not relevant for you right now. You are all young and energetic. So, but I am telling that will be the futuristic advantage for that. And at that point of time, I am sure, especially in the current trends of the world, I would like to believe that everyone among you will be approached by so many people for comfort and help and support. No doubt about that. Because that will be so clearly manifested in you. And like Parvathy said, allow all of them, give them all your support and make your critical, like Parvathy said, that create your appreciation and make them feel good and make them fulfill their existence at least at that point of time. With whatever available time, you do the wonders with them. Every one of you, I want every one of you to do magic with the people who approach you for support and help and guidance. And you will be able to, which I am sure, because I know what I am preparing you to. So, all right, 3.5 hours. That's a standard time for our program. So, we will have to continue like this till at least, I think, variant invariant orbit, intentionality, linkage, logic, time, design setting process, complete framework is to be once again clarified. And ideally, I want every one of you to do a complete analysis of something or some event or some object taken from one of the parables and make a presentation, something like a cook presentation. Because we want a detailed presentation like this on mental traps, mindsets which are trapping. So that will take that many number of times. So this variant invariant orbit linkage analysis, at least a 30 minutes kind of a presentation where most of your ideas will be clarified by the diagrams rather than by your talking. Okay. So your diagram will explain your understanding. That kind of diagrams, a diagrammatic representation. Don't worry much about making a diagram at the level of Ramesh, but what you want to clarify it with this thing, and then at least minimum 30 minutes presentation. 30 minutes, then we can stop it, we can control it within about 3 sessions. Then we will have next session on mindsets of trapping nature, rather the so-called mental traps, where we will proceed with referent and referent reality analysis. For example, I will tell you only the name of the mindsets. As of now, you know how to decipher a name, or rather how to utilize the conceptions of a name to project or to perceive or to assess or to conceptualize the nature of the referent and the referent reality of a name. For example, the first mental trap, or first 4 mental traps, fear and anxiety. Of, for example, the first one, of the uncertain, what is uncertain? Of the ambiguous, what is ambiguous? Of the unknown, of the strange, of the unexpected. So you may have to explain the referent and the referent realities of that. And then after completing creative conceptual clarity about all those mindsets, every one of you have to do actual program on mindset or mental traps. Like how Nitya did a program for some college school students. Every one of you have to do as if you are doing a program. A program meaning so-called program. That means you are doing a session. Every one of you doing a session on mindsets or mental traps. That will take, now there are 13 individuals. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 almost. So it will take 13 full sessions of minimum 3.5 hours. And then final some clarification and retouching. So the sessions are likely to continue up till March 2022.